the Just As We Are podcast. I'm Katrina Lely, a wife, mom in recovery, certified life and transformation strategist, community cultivator, lover of people, and student of life. Each week, I'll bring you love, inspiration, share the harder things people are afraid to talk about, and guests who are willing to shine their light for you. I give you self-care practices and mindset tips to help you shatter the negative stories you tell yourself. Now is the time to step into the beautiful, loved, whole woman you already are. Let's walk this journey together. Hey, welcome back to the Just As We Are podcast. I am Katrina Lely, and I'm incredibly excited to have Amanda here with me today. You guys, she is one of the most beautiful people that I know. I just love her heart, and I love that we have connected on such an amazing level. We met back in October at the Mommy Millionaire live event, but we've been in each other's community for quite some time now, and getting to know her just more and more. We went through the academy together. She is one of those people you want in your corner, and I'm just so excited you're here. Thank you, Amanda.
Yay! Thank you, Katrina. I'm so excited. I'm honored to be here.
I am so excited for today's conversation. So just tell my audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Okay, awesome. Yes, I am a mom of 3 littles. I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I'm also a military spouse. And I am an advocate for doTERRA essential oils.
Which, you guys, I just dove into the essential oils. It's been something on my mind for a while, and I chose to go with Amanda, and I'm obsessed. I'm like texting her. I'm looking everything up on the app now. I'm like, oh my gosh, where has this been all my life?
Yeah, it's a whole new world, and I'm here for it. I love it. I love that you're so excited, and we're happy to have you. Yay!
Well, and I love that you're so, you take this it's something that you really take seriously, and you know about the items, and I can go to you and ask you a question and you're like, oh yeah, do this, this, and this. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Such an amazing support system. And not everybody will go to that depth when they get into something like that.
Yeah, I definitely went there because for me, it changed my life. And so I just kind of started learning more and more about it, and I became obsessed with it because when you feel terrible and you can't mom, in life, you just you need somebody to help you, and you need something or someone to pull you out of that. And so for me, that was essential oils, and I'm so happy that my neighbor introduced them to me. And from there, I just became obsessed and just learned everything I could.
I love that so much. And what do you say to the person that is like, oils, that seems kind of like woo woo? There's no way that just putting an oil on my skin is going to work. How do you come back with that?
So I was one of those people, totally. I actually had a terrible oil experience the first time I ever tried oils because it really has to do with education around them. If you're not using the right one, or everybody's body is different, they react differently to different things, kind of like we would, choose something off the grocery store shelves for our body to help us feel better. Each of us choose different things, right? And so we know when that one thing works for us, we can go to that thing. And so for me and for everybody who's my client, I help them figure out what's the best one that will work with your body to make you feel better. And so that's what I love about oils, is that there's one for everybody and everything.
I know. I love that they're so diverse, and there's so many different things that they can do for you. I mean, they can help you with your emotions and down to your physical self. There's just so much there. You could get down the rabbit hole with it and just go with it.
Yeah, totally. And it really opened my eyes to the fact that I can actually completely go mostly chemical free. And I've switched out all of my household cleaners and everything just to really support my body, and the fact that it recognizes these things as natural And, sometimes when we end up with chemicals in our body, they can be disrupting to our, natural systems. And so I just prefer to go the natural route. I'm totally crunchy now. But before, yeah, I totally related to the person who was like, ew, what's essential oils? Like that is just hokey stuff. But now that I have the education around it and I've experienced them and I have, I read the list of side effects for some of the things that are out there and I'm like, no, thank you. I'll go this way and there's no side effects. So I love it.
I think that's so awesome. For me, one of the resistance to getting into oils was like, oh, it's just another thing I have to learn. And it's really not that simple. And, you just take it one oil at a time, one day at a time, and you'll eventually learn. And if you have somebody like you who is already in it and knowledgeable, and who doesn't mind like the 15 million texts that I send you, like, oh my gosh, what do I do here? Until I learn for myself, right?
Well, it's just consistency and like looking things up. So like for me, I love the app that we can go into and you just type in like what you need and it'll tell you like what to use. So or you can pick from one of the 6 options it gives you, right? And so you just kind of learn over time. That's what happened to me. It wasn't like I'm going to study this like for 12 hours and then memorize. No, it was just like, oh, my kid has a scratch. Like, let me go look up what will help with that. And then over time, it just sticks with you. And so that's the awesome part about it is that it just comes naturally, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. So you shared with us that you're a military spouse. Can you share with us a little bit about what is it like for you? What is it like to be a military spouse? There's all kinds of different dynamics to that. So if you'll share with us on that.
Well, there definitely are. Um, so I'm probably not the person you'd be like, oh, I'm a proud military spouse. Don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely appreciative for everything our military does. And I love my husband and I stand behind him for everything that he does. It's a hard life. And I kind of knew that getting into our marriage, but I grew up an Air Force brat. And so when you transition over to marrying an Army guy, it's like, okay, this is a little bit different. It has been eye-opening and it has really made us grow stronger together for sure. And my husband is incredibly supportive of, having me working from home, having a home business, being an entrepreneur, and doing all of that. And so um, as far as the challenges go, though, it is up there as far as, just there's normal marriage problems. And then there's like an extra layer when you have like a military spouse or even someone who has, weird work hours too. So, yeah.
Yeah, it all depends on who you talk to. I have family members who are military spouse, and it was terrible for them. It ended up not working out eventually, but it's terrible. And then you do see the wives who like love it, and so it just depends on who you're talking to, and I guess what branch of service, whether or not their spouse is gone a lot, whether they're home a lot, that type of thing. How did the two of you meet?
We met through his roommate, actually. It's a funny story. But his roommate ended up coming to a college football game like near where I was going to school. And so we met through him. So yeah, and then his actual best friend was up where I was living in Northern Virginia. And so when he'd come up and see his best friend, we would get together and, go out. So that's kind of how the whole thing started. But yeah, it definitely wasn't something I was looking for, but that's kind of how it always works out, right? You're not expecting to meet your spouse and then you do. So yeah.
Yeah. Was he in the military at that time?
He was. I think he was in I think for around 8 years. So he'd been in for a bit. But yeah.
And growing up in the Air Force, were you ever like, okay, I know this is not what I want, and then here comes the universe, and it's like, well, I guess I don't have a choice.
So my dad was just on TDY a lot. Like he traveled a lot, but it's definitely different. We saw him I want to say frequently, but then there were times where I remember he was gone frequently. And so I just watched my mom struggle with it all. And I was like, no, this is not really what I want. And then, yeah, it's just kind of funny because it all comes back and then God gives you what you need. Not necessarily everything you want, but then, in the hindsight, everything works out and it's all good.
I love that you shared that because it's so true. God gives you everything you need, even though it's not what you want or what, it's not, and it doesn't always look like roses and rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes it's the harder stuff that forces you into a space that makes you take a harder look at what's going on in your life. Have you ever had that moment for you or that
Oh
thing?
my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, can we talk about 2020 right now?
Right? Besides the obvious.
Oh man, there are so many times though this year, even in quarantine, where we have looked back and we've just looked at each other and we've been like, okay, God definitely worked this out for us because there's no way that we would have chosen this path and then it would have worked out so well. So I mean, yeah, I can't even really think of an example. I guess one was the fact that we chose to move houses and he fought me about this a while. And I was like, no, we just need to move. And I just kept pushing. But we did. We ended up moving. And it was a local move. So we did it ourselves. And looking back, he goes to me the other day. He's like, can you imagine being quarantined in our other house? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I cannot even imagine. Because it was different setup. My 3 children love them to death, but they are loud children. And so if I hadn't gone out of that house, I would be a deaf person at age 40. Like it would just be different. So here we have more space. I have my own office. We have a garage. So I'm very grateful for even just that one little thing where God was like, okay, I'm going to make this all work out. And it did. And then came 2020 and the pandemic. And so here we are, like stuck in our house for a while. I'm so grateful for that. But yes.
Where are you guys at right now as far as like, are you locked down? I don't pay attention to the media for the most part because I get down the rabbit hole and then I'm like, no. So I don't pay attention. So I know that some states have opened up. Are you one of those states that's starting to open up or are you guys still in lockdown?
So Virginia, for the most part, is open, but not our area. So they decided to keep Northern Virginia and then certain parts of like Richmond and other areas around the state closed down. So hopefully, I think by like next week, I don't really pay huge attention to the news because I feel the same way about it. But I think by like next week, they're planning on going into phase 1. So hopefully here soon, we'll be able to like see people again, not on Zoom.
Right? Yeah.
So
yeah. What's one of the hardest things that you have found for yourself during this time?
I feel like sometimes, again, going back to the whole like God gives you what you need, I think for a long time I've recognized that like I am a doer. And when it comes to like my business, that's just something that I'm really passionate about and I love. And so I love showing up for work and I love getting things done for work. And so on the other hand, when it comes to really being present for my family, it's a struggle for me because I find I love them, but I also find a lot of satisfaction in my job. And so and since I work from home, it's really hard to do work-life balance, which I don't think exists. But I think God has really just wanted me to focus more on my family. And, especially now during this time since he's about to leave for 6 months. But it's just been really nice to, even though I was so resistant to it, like all the time, waking up and like spending the majority of the day with my kids. Well, guess what? Now I'm homeschooling them and now we get to spend literally 24 hours together 7 days a week. So it really has been a time of transition for me, but also like a mindset shift where like, okay, this is all doable and I can still balance properly, like, get my work done and get my kids' schoolwork done and everything. But there was definitely a block there where I was like, I can't do it all. I can't, this is too hard or whatever. And, our mind believes us. And so when we say words like that, it's like, okay, no, we have to switch that around and say, we can totally do this. Let's figure this out. It's going to be great and have a good attitude about it. So, yeah.
I love that you shared that because I can so relate to that 110%, being present. I'm more of a doer at least in my head, I'm a doer. Like my head is always doing something. It's always thinking.
Yeah.
And then, well, you were there. We both went through the academy. We had the certification weekend and we come home and our states are in lockdown within the next couple of weeks. And it's like, wait a minute. We were coming out of this to build a business and or create this new level in our life. And holy crap, we're on lockdown. Like, everything's shutting down. Who's going to, and so it's been an interesting dynamic to balance. I don't even like the word balance either. It's more flow. You go through a flow.
Yeah.
And like, how do you do this? How do you, even for an established business, how do you keep working a business and, still find time for your family? And finding that flow has been very interesting. And then you're forced into a space of, okay, let's slow down. Where's the gift in this? This is working for me, but I don't see it yet. So what is it? Show me,
Yeah. And I think, when we came back and we're just kind of forced into all that, we were into all of the emotions of it, right? Like, I mean, it took me a while to process kind of what was happening. And it took a few weeks, I think, even. But I learned to more of like pay attention to the flow. I love that phrase that you were like, go with the flow. I'm very much usually that type of person. And so I just leaned into that. And I was like, you know what? When my kids are asking for my attention, I'm going to put down what I'm doing and I'm going to go give them attention. Even though my brain wanted to finish out like what I'm doing with work, I just learned to put stuff down and then come back to it later, because they'll give you the signs and signals of like when your kid needs your attention. And then I just found myself like leaning in more towards like, okay, let's play a game. Let's have more family time. Like it was just natural. And it did take a few weeks, but we're here, I think.
Well, yeah, because this is a new normal. So many people are waiting for things to get back to the way they were, and they'll never go back to the way they were. It's just how it is. It's going to be different. People are going to show up differently, and it's not going to go back to the way it was. So now it's about living life in this new way, and how do we be with those that we love more so? I think that's one of the greatest lessons that we're trying to be taught here is like, how do we be with people and love more so? And unfortunately, not everybody is in love right now. There's a lot of not love going on, but how do we be with our kids as moms? And so it's interesting to me that, we kind of share that. And I too am leaning into, okay, being a more tender mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, even with your spouse, like it'd be really easy to fight a lot. Like, cause
Yes.
you're more present with each other. And for some people, that's an amazing thing. And for some people, it's like, it's a reality check, right? Like there are either issues there that you need to deal with or whatever. But for us, it's been a really great time. We have enjoyed the time together, and he did end up getting a bunch of time off work, which was awesome because we got that family time to spend before he's leaving. And so that was really great too. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So with this new 2020 year, like because we all came in with these grand ideas, right? 2020 is the year and whatnot. What is it you see for yourself in this year now? Or have you spent time thinking about that?
I mean, I think we all spend time like wondering, right? Because so much for that planner we bought as far as like actually, meeting with people and having all these appointments. But I think for this year, it's just really been, I've really been able to see that I can actually do a lot more than I think I can. And I really think that that's what 2020 is coming around to show all of us, right? Like, I mean, who would have thought that this thing that's going to happen like once in a lifetime would have gotten to the root of like so many problems out there in the world? I mean, politics, like it's here to point out all of the things that maybe aren't going with the flow, and that maybe we need to say like, okay, this isn't working. Let's go and pivot and do another thing. And I really enjoyed seeing that out there in social media, that like a ton of businesses were just like going with the flow. And okay, this isn't working. We're going to do this now. And you've really either seen people thrive in this, or you see people like saying, okay, this is not working and I need to stop and like reevaluate. But I think 2020 is definitely the year for reflection, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you see for yourself in the next like 5 years? Like, what is your plan? Is it growing your doTERRA business? What is it you want for yourself?
I absolutely am passionate about sharing the love of oils with everybody because I mean at the core of it, we all have our own health struggles. And I feel like I have seen this how powerful this stuff is, and that when you start incorporating it into your life, it really does help your health. And so I'm very passionate about sharing that with people because I want people to feel their best and to be able to operate, at their best level of health. And that I don't feel like is ever going to change for me. Like I'm obsessed. So I definitely see just sharing a ton of more about oils with everyone that I know, but also just educating them about that. I have taken on some coaching clients. I have done that. And I really just find that my passion is like really focused on health with like the background of coaching, if that makes sense. So
Expand on that.
I think that, well, for me, and this goes into like a little bit about my health history, like I got to a point where I was just so sick that I couldn't function and I couldn't work and I couldn't do the things that I was passionate about. And so underlying everyone's, life is this whole like, are you healthy or are you not healthy? Because if you're not healthy, then you can't function. And I was there. And then now that I'm out of that hole, I feel like the basis for everyone, at least from my standpoint, is like, are you healthy? Because if you're healthy, you can pursue your dreams and you can, get out there and get what you want and all the things. So I I really enjoy teaching people that there is a new way to find health in a way that maybe they haven't been taught before because I wasn't. And then on top of it, I mean, I absolutely am obsessed with all the things that we learned in the academy and just the mindset training and all of those things and just how training your mind to think a different way can really change how you operate in life and therefore change your future. So I hope that answered your question, but
Yeah, no, it did. And I was thinking like you're in such a unique position because you had this experience where you went through your own health issue and it took you down. I mean, it took you down and you have come out of that in a way where you're more educated and it turned you to the inside to really look at like how are you health wise physically. And then you also went in and you've done coaching and you are finding all the knowledge in that, so you're in a place where it encompasses a full spectrum. And not every coach out there is that way. They have like just like little piecemeals of things. And I think really, I mean, the basis is looking at it as a whole. It's not just mind, it's not just body, it's not just spirit, it's mind, body, and spirit. It's all of those things. And, the way we think is definitely a huge, important part of that because I know that if we don't think we're worthy enough to be healthy, then we're going to sabotage ourselves. And so I love that you're in that position where like you're knowledgeable in all of those areas.
yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I really approach health from like a whole body standpoint too. I mean, when we talk about sleep, we're talking about like, do you have anxious feelings? Are you, is your mind racing every night? Are you exercising? All of the things. So if you're having a sleep, like a regular sleep, then I literally will go down the list of everything to talk about before I'm going to be like, okay, well, here are a couple of options for you. And so I love that because that's really how I approach everything, work, um, coaching and all of the health stuff that I'm into. So yeah.
Now, I love that so much. And because there's so many people out there, like I mentioned, that just want to do like one piece of it. And all of those pieces are important. And I think it's important. It doesn't make them any less of a coach or less of a person or whatever. But I love that, you're a person that somebody can come through and has all of it. Because sometimes we come across those coaches and they may not have a piece that's really important and missing. And not all of them are willing to say, well, you know what? I don't know. They're more willing to
Right.
like give information that's not helpful or solution oriented, or, them saying, oh, you know what? I'm not sure, but I do know somebody, and like helping find that solution and helping find that piece. And I wanted to say, like, as you go down the line, one of the things I really love about I think it's the Emotions app. Yeah, it's the Emotions app. Is that it gives you like affirmations, or it helps you like shift your thinking around. It doesn't just give you an oil. It gives you a different way to think too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I love these resources. They're so easy to like get in there and just look up what your issue is and get to the root of the problem. But that emotions app is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. You briefly touched on your own health issue. Share a little bit more about that with us.
Oh man, I could probably tell the story from like 8 different ways. Um, After my second kiddo, I we oh my gosh, I mean, just adjusting to motherhood in general is like super stressful. But my husband had been working a lot and we were getting ready to move. And so I'm sure all of the stress had a lot to do with it. But I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and I had nodules and goiter in my like throat area. And I was like, what is happening? They were sending me in for a biopsy, like all of it. So I think that's when I started to realize, like, okay, I cannot take my health for granted anymore because this is really happening and it's totally weird because up until that point, I was basically completely healthy. I do have asthma, but when you're a mom of 2 at the time and you're trying to handle everything at home while your husband's at work and not around frequently at that time, it gets really stressful. And so then when all of a sudden you have this new reality of like, I can't even take care of my babies because I'm not feeling good and all I want to do is crawl in bed. Like it's really awful. So we moved from Tennessee to Virginia. And I saw a ton of specialists. I ended up not getting a biopsy, long story short. And I got put on a treatment for goiter and hypothyroidism. And then fast forward, I'm really making this story short. 7 years later, I was told that the medication that I was put on was thought to have been the treatment at the time, but it really didn't do anything.
You
And
said
so
7 years?
it was 7 years of being on the medication.
Oh my gosh.
And, when somebody tells you that, you're like, first of all, like, let me get a second opinion. But, and I had more than one opinion. But it was more of like, okay, here's the reality check of, when you go to an authority and they're like, okay, yeah, you have this, this, and this, you're like, okay, great. Like, here's what I need to do. And the reality of it is like, that may not be what you need to do. It just made me really take responsibility for my own health because in the end, I was the only one who was really going to be a true advocate for myself. And so I really, appreciated everyone who had helped me up until that point. But it was that point where I was like, okay, I'm really just going to advocate for my own health at this point, and I'm going to learn all of it I can, and I'm going to find doctors who are willing to work with me on this. And I did. So, shifting away from the whole endocrine issues, at that point, my immune system was so destroyed. I was literally sick every single day of the year. I mean, I remember going to doctors and being like, help me, like, tell me what to do. I'm willing to do anything, do something. And they were like, well, we've done all the tests we can. There's nothing else we can do. And so I was like, how is this possible? I mean, what we're living in the age that we're living in, and I can't find help or treatment right now just for my immune system. Like, it's not normal for someone to be sick all the time. And so, even to make that story shorter, I ended up feeling not really well one day, and my neighbor caught me at the bus stop, and she was like, "Are you open to natural solutions?" And I was like, "I'm open to anything. Like, just throw something at me, and I'll take it at this point because I feel so awful. I just need help." And so she opened me to supporting my body with natural solutions. And, we never claim that oils or supplements are there to heal or treat us. We take them to support our body system so that our body can heal itself. And so that's the one thing I really love about it. It's because you're just getting your body everything that it really needs to truly focus on what it's meant to do. So that's what I really love about it. But um, I had some sinus issues at the bus stop, and so she gave me a bunch of things for that. And so I took um, a bunch of oils and I diffused and did all the things she said. And literally, like within 24 hours, I was feeling so much better. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is awesome. My body actually feels like I'm on the mend again. And so from that point on, I was obsessed, and I couldn't stop. I'm like, okay, well, I'm having this issue today. Like, what do I need to do? And I was, like Googling and like looking up all the things in the app and the book and everything. So, and then I just started really focusing on getting rid of like a ton of the chemicals in my house. And I make my own like granite spray, and I make my own dishwashing detergent. And you know what? Like, I was not the DIY type of person at all. I'm like, no, thank you. I just need convenience. I don't have time for that. Like, no. But literally everything that I do now that I've slowly incorporated into my life, one has made a huge difference in my health, getting rid of all that stuff in my house. And then two, just being able to learn about the things that were in my house and how they were affecting my body is huge. But I can make all of these things in like 30 seconds flat. And they're like pennies on the dollar of what you're paying for in the store for like these awful cleaners that have so many chemicals in them, and they're just really bad for your body. But I think the analogy that keeps coming up for me is like, why are you paying for like a gift wrap, fake scented thing of bleach or whatever from the grocery store when you can just make it yourself with like way healthier chemicals that are not bleach and everything else. So anyway, not to get down that rabbit hole, but I love this life now. And I've just taught my kids like, we need to stick to all the things that your body can recognize.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I was thinking when you were sharing your story, like number one, after having your second child, you're a mom, and we understand that our bodies are just so crazy run down anyways. But then you were like advocating for yourself, knowing that something wasn't right. And I want to put that out there because it is so important to advocate for ourselves because we know what's going on. I've only learned more recently to trust myself. Hence, that's why I went to the doctor recently and find out, oh yeah, you're screwed up. There's some stuff going on. But advocating for ourselves, if instead of just being shoved medications, which oftentimes only cover up what's really going on. Sometimes they do help. I mean, depending on what, but I love that you trusted yourself and advocated for yourself. And I think more of us could be doing that and really learning to trust our bodies. Like if something's not right, listen to it and go talk to somebody and find somebody who's going to listen to you.
Yeah. And I don't get me wrong. I really do feel like there are so many medications out there that are very important and like that are absolutely necessary. I will always choose the crunchy way first because I feel like, that's just my new reality. I just reach for that first now. And a lot of the times I can get it, to where it works. But yeah, it's a new way of thinking. It's kind of like we've grown up under this blanket umbrella that like all of the things on the store shelves are good for us. And if you actually do the research, the majority of it is actually really bad for you. And, it's like growing up when we were teenagers, we ate all the Doritos and all of the like Oreos and all the things that we were like, oh yeah, we're never gonna, it was all about like being fat, right? And like, we're always gonna be skinny forever. And I don't ever want to food shame anybody because I definitely eat like processed foods, but I feel like after learning all that I know about like the processed foods and the chemicals and stuff, it was like, if I could just go back and think about it, like not just in terms of like, am I going to get fat when I'm older? Like, think about it in terms of like, are you eating towards health or are you eating towards illness? Because you're doing one or the other. And none of us are perfect. We all are, we all can't eat a plant-based whole food diet every day because I feel like our how fast the world spins around us like won't slow down enough for each of us to do that. But if I have the time to take the extra 30 seconds to cut up a carrot and eat it, then I'll do that. I choose not to buy certain foods in my house anymore so that my kids don't even have the option. And yeah, so anyway, I left out one part of the story where I actually did get really, really, really ill and was in the hospital for about 2 weeks, and they never found out what was wrong. I couldn't walk. I basically came home from a run one day and like almost passed out. I was severely dehydrated. I think that it took them I was laughing hysterically in the emergency room. My grandmother was there with me because they couldn't get an IV in. And they eventually like put it in my neck, which I guess is very like not optimal because it's just not the best. But I was laughing hysterically because I was like so sick of being poked. I think they poked me like 20 times, not an exaggeration. But they couldn't ever figure out what was wrong with me. And so they sent me home with this benign diagnosis of like neurological virus. And I'm like, what in the world is that? What does that mean? And they were like, well, sometimes there are things that we just can't diagnose. We think that you were hit with like a neurological virus, and then it just went away. And I'm like, okay, well, okay. I think that it had a lot to do with just my body just freaking out from having babies and all of that. But anyway, it may have been a number of things, and it honestly doesn't matter at this point because I found health again. And I'm very grateful for it. And I will never take it for granted again. And so it just sucks though to have to go through like that. It's literally a rock bottom moment to where I am now. And so I'm here to say that there is another side. There is the other side of whatever health issue that you're dealing with right now. And so there's a way to get there.
Yeah, I totally 100% believe that too. And I didn't always believe that, but I think our bodies are a lot more, they're more divinely created than we want to really acknowledge, I think given the tools to support it, it will heal itself. Maybe not completely for some people, but they are more, I guess, they're more magical than people want to really let on. But when we do feed it with that crap that's not healthy for us or good for us constantly, then that's what we're going to get. And
yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing how much it's true. Our diets and what we intake can change the way we feel. And so I love that you are share that story and that you are so educated because of that. And, now you're passionate about sharing that with others. I mean, it's so amazing. And I know that with that, you're going to change people's lives because you do your due diligence and you have the experience as well, which is so important to be able to relate to somebody on that level with that experience.
I think back to somebody who said, I cannot remember who it was, but they were like, if you were born broke, then there's probably something, more along the lines of like, there needs to be serious intervention. But if you weren't born broke, then how come we can't get you back there? It's like, okay, that makes so much sense to me. It's like, if it's a reality where you existed before this new thing popped up, and you were healthy. And so let's just get you back there.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. Is there anything else that is on your heart that you want to share with the audience?
I think that the main thing here is that I feel like everyone just needs to like start listening to their bodies. If you feel like something's wrong, then listen to that and go and find people who are willing to have the conversations about how you want to get better. And also too, like it's really important that you pay attention to like your mental health too with healing your body and being able to be successful too. I mean, it is all an ecosystem, our mind, our body, and our spirit. And so we need to treat it like that. And yeah, I've just found that to be the best way to like look at your health and your job.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and your heart with my audience. I just love you so much. And I'm so grateful that our paths have come together and we get to do life together now, even though, it's through Zoom and all of that, but it's amazing that we have that technology and we can connect this way. And I love sharing space with you, and I can't wait till we can actually share physical space again together, whatever that looks like one day.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored to be here and I love you back and cannot wait till we get to go on more adventures together. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you guys loved this episode, which I know you did, please be sure to share it on your social medias. You can tag Amanda. Amanda, where do we find you?
I'm at Amanda in Life on Instagram and also facebook.com/Amanda in Life.
Love it. Tag Amanda, tag myself, share this episode with your guys' communities. That's how we get our message out, is when you're able to share. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time. Wait, don't stop listening yet. Just as we are, fam, I so appreciate my listeners. And you know what would be so incredibly awesome? Is if you just took a few moments, headed on over to iTunes, and left me a 5-star review of the show. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with your communities. Tag me at Katrina Lely. My message, my mission doesn't get out there without your help. Until next time.